Okay, the topic that we will cover in this lecture is Introduction to the Basics of Project Management, followed by an introduction to the basics of office management. So, project management requires that you understand the delivery approaches of projects. As we discussed yesterday in the construction documents, you also need to understand the delivery approach that the owner intends to adopt, so that you prepare your working drawings and construction documents according to that. So they affect the delivery approaches, they affect your packaging of the construction documents. So you can have the whole project as one package, or you can have divided into several packages according to different contractors or different work trades and so forth. So you have to understand from the beginning how the project will be constructed and how the contractors will be selected, and you have an imagination of the project until it is finished and started to work. So there is, as we said, there is a method that is rarely used called the early award, that you want to quickly select a contractor by giving them quick documents to allow them to make prices for the project. So you give them basic working drawings, basic bills of quantities, specifications, and they can put the prices on them. These are not usually the construction documents that will be followed during the construction. After they make this early pricing, you start to make your working drawings properly, and the specifications and bills of quantities and so forth. So the approach is important for the owner and the contractor to understand how they work. Sometimes you will find yourself designing for the contractor. The contractor himself is the owner, or the owner is a contractor. So in that case, you need also to understand how you deal with the documents and specifications. The usual method is called design bid build. Design bid build is the traditional method where you do your design, working drawings, specifications, bills of quantities, contract documents, and then you make a bid for the project. You receive a number of contractors, 10, 20, 30, whatever. They submit their bids, and then you select one of them based on price, or based on qualifications, or based on criteria. Sometimes we ask them to provide their CVs, their technical background, their manpower, to make sure that they can do this project. So this is the traditional way of design of project delivery: design, bid, build. Sometimes you have multiple prime contracts. So suppose it's a very big site, a compound or touristic village, or a park or something, office park. So maybe you will need to divide the area into several prime contracts. So each contractor will take several buildings to construct. So in that case, as a designer, you need to imagine how to divide the packaging or the project into several pieces. Sometimes if the project is very big, the owner selects to to get a construction manager to manage the work. So they need to understand the scope of the project and how big it is. So they need some documents. And as we said, there is also the design build entities that take the project from design to building to submission. And they also need different types of drawings. The other types, as we said, the early award or the fast track. So this is the typical relationship between the owner and the architect. And here you need to provide a design contract. So before you start any work, you have to provide a design, to have a design contract with the owner so that you work according to certain requirements and payments. And so you have your rights and the rights of the owner guaranteed. So you get your consultants, and the owner, as we said, is a contractor. So he is a contractor. So he wants you to provide the documents that he would use to assign his subcontractors that he wants to get for the project. So in that case, your relationship is with the owner only, but the owner himself is a contractor. Design bid build, as you said, this is the traditional method that you provide construction documents to different bidders, and they submit their bids, and you select the lowest price or most appropriate contractor. So this is the traditional way that most projects follow. The problem with design bid build is that it wastes a lot of time. You have to finish the design, the working drawings, the specifications, the bids of quantities, and until you get the bidding and the contract. This is a long process, and by the time you finish this process, prices are going up and materials are changing and so forth. And also the problem of selecting based on the lowest cost. Sometimes the lowest cost is not the best cost. Or because sometimes there are tricks played by the contractors. They supply low quality materials. They don't provide enough labor power in the site for the construction. So there is a problem with low cost, but it is in governmental and institutional agencies, they like to go for that to be in the safe side. Also, another problem is that it isolates the contractor from the design process, because you start the design without knowing who is the contractor. So sometimes when the contractor is involved from the beginning of the project, it makes the design even better to base it on their capabilities and equipment and previous experiences and so forth. So these are the problems of design bid build. Selecting the lower cost might affect the quality of the materials and workmanship. So but many people go for it. It's as the well-known thing. Another method is the owner contractor, that you have one prime contractor, and you are working as a consulting firm for the owner. So it's the relationship is between the contractor and the owner, not you. So you have to make sure about that. You are only working for the owner. So your relationship is with the owner. And the owner provides you with the rights to supervise the contractor and the work. So يعني make sure that you don't overdo your role as an architect. Your relationship is with the owner, and you are only representing the owner in front of the contractor. So this is very important because many architects, they think that they are the owners of the project, and it is not true. As I said, if you have several contractors, then we need to divide the project among them in different packages so that we can have different parts of the site or different buildings or different trades. Maybe you will get one contractor for the concrete work. So they only do the foundations and concrete slabs and columns and beams, and they finish. And then you get another one for the brickwork and finishing material and finishing. So you need to understand from the beginning how the owner would like to select the contractors for the delivery of the project. So it affects very much your packaging of the working drawings. So before you start construction documents, you have to communicate with the owner and make sure that he knows the delivery approach, and make, as I said, everything in writing. So if you have multiple contractors, so again, the owner might have contractor doing work for part of the project and another contractor doing another part of the project. And your relationship is with the owner. The owner can provide you with the rights to supervise these contractors while they are working. But your relationship is with the owner, and the contractor is working for the owner. So you have to understand this relationship very, very well. طبعا you will get your consultants to do the work for you. The contractors will get their subconsultants and subcontractors to do the work for them. So this is how it goes for multiple prime contractors. Construction management. There are now big firms that work as construction managers, and they are usually needed in the fast track projects because it requires a lot of coordination and documentation and changes of orders, and it's very hectic. It saves time, it saves money, but the process is very hectic. So they control the relationship between the specialists and the owner and the contractors. And in the beginning, they are selected based on what you call scope documents of the project and the work involved and so forth. So scope documents are incomplete but sufficiently developed documents that indicate materials, qualities, before construction documents are fully developed. This allows you to select the project manager and early award. So the owner then assigns a construction manager that he runs the show with the design professional and the contractor. So he controls all the different activities between the different parties. you as an office might grow up and include project management within your office. So you can be a design professional and construction manager. And this is also available in different firms. As we said, there are any small firms that work as design build. So they design and then they actually construct the project. They work as contractors. And you will find this is very common in interior design or interior finishings and many young architects, they work as design build firm. So it's a company that has one or two different disciplines and designer and contractor, and they work together to to make that project. طبعا in that case the construction documents are not very developed and detailed. We only produce what you call pricing documents that allows you to to express your ideas to the client and provide them with prices of what you are going to do. And the team is doing both the design and construction, and it's a very formal process in that regard. The nice thing is that it saves coordination, and it might not save money a lot, but it saves time and coordination efforts because everything is done within one entity. So, but there is also an ethical dilemma of being a designer and being a contractor. How much quality and quantity will be sacrificed in the making of the project? So it has its pros and cons. So the contractor will hire the design professional. So in that case, the owner will have only one design and construction contract with the contractor, and then the contractor will hire the design professional. طبعا there is a problem of contractors hiring design professionals because they will have an overhand on the professional, and they can reduce the quality and prices and so forth. Every delivery approach has its positives and negatives. Nothing is perfect. Fast track is good. It saves time, it saves money, but it requires a lot of coordination. And it saves money on the long run, not the short run. So maybe during construction, it might cost more, but on the long run, it might allow the project to start early. So as we said yesterday, the fast track, you start construction parallel to the preparation of the construction documents that you have. Okay, now we'll quickly go over the office management. We talked about the project management, but what about the office management? Inside the office, you need also to manage the process of the work. So as a principal or owner of an office, you have several people working for you. You have administrators, accountants, bookkeeping, stationery purchase, housekeeping, so people who are making coffee and tea, sending papers to other places, bringing something from here and there. You have secretaries, you have clerks, so forth. You also have the subspecialties, that are working with you, structural design, land surveyors, quantity surveyors. So all these are people from different other disciplines who work for you. You can also have your design team. This is the architectural design team that develops the design and concept design, working drawings, construction documents, and so forth. You can have senior architects, project architect, assistant architect, junior architect, draftsman, trainee. Someone you expect to start as a junior architect in an office and get your way up in the ladder. You have to understand what is going on as inshallah as a principal of the office, and how what is the role of each one working. طبعا the hectic relationship with the contractor will consume most of the time of your office. Everyone, the architect, the owner, and the contractor, they have different interests and they have different requirements. So you have to make sure that you coordinate the relationship between the three entities in a good way. So as an architect, you are working for the owner. You provide them with advices during the planning and strategy stage, the design stage and implementation, the operation and management. So you can provide the owner with services at any of these levels of the work, from the selection of site and program all the way to the operation and evaluation and advertisement and running of the project. So the architect is not only a designer. The architect can do more than 100 jobs, depending on your interest, what you want to focus on. And this is very important for your future, that you have an image, you have a specialization, you have something that you are known about. Don't just be a regular art. As they say in the US, a man of all trade is a man of no trade. Try to find yourself a niche or a specialization that people know that this person, this person is specialized in acoustics. This person is specialized in lighting. This person is specialized in landscaping. This person is specialized in quantity surveying. There are hundreds of jobs that architects do. And no one architect can do everything. There must be specialization in the field. So the architect practices different things, and the main issue of design is important, but it's not the only thing that we do. So our activities, they involve organization, management, documentation, delivery process, site supervision, many things. We do not only do design. So if you look what architects do in the office, they work on drawings, they look for information, they are in meetings, discussions and verbal communication. They send and receive letters, they think sometimes, they do other things. So the time of the architect is divided between different activities here. So usually this is the distribution of the architect time in the office. between drawing, looking for information, discussions, writing, thinking, and other things during their work. Drawing.
Doctor,
Yes.
in the previous diagram, there is the last part, MISC. What does it mean?
Miscellaneous. Yani other things they do.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
They do miscellaneous things. Yani, they might go and get some coffee and come back. They might go get some sandwich. They might eat. Yani other things related to the work. So what do we do when we draw? We spend like 19% of our time in the drawing, measuring, selecting colors, erasing, searching for pencil, sharpening the pencil. So there are many activities that are monitored by the architect that they do during the time. So important part of the work of the architect is meetings, discussions, and verbal communication. And this has to be done properly in proper conditions, dressing professionally, and communicating professionally, whether in writing or verbally. Writing letters, writing emails, writing reports is extremely important. As much as you do drawings, you spend a lot of time writing, reading, approving, preparing, and so forth. Unfortunately, thinking only takes 10% of our time. And the rest of the time we spend doing other things. But sitting like you do in the studio with your papers and pencils and colors and think about the design, this is not what we do all the time. 90% of the time, you are not designing, you are not thinking, you are not creating. You are doing office work. This is the reality of the profession. We don't do design all the time. So you have to understand the culture of the office. How is it going? And miscellaneous things, as some people just walk around, talk personally to someone, get some coffee, and so forth. So as you said, the budget of the project is typically divided on the construction documents, takes the 40%. So that's why this part is the most important, the construction, the bidding, the construction phase. This is the most important part that creates revenue for the office. The design creates, if we are lucky, creates 25% of the revenue. That's why offices are more concerned about this part, about the construction documents and the bidding and construction phase, because this is where they get most of their money from. Okay, so that's the end of this lecture. And inshallah, we'll take